Hello everyone, welcome to the Black and White Show on Nova Radio North East 102.5 live on all social media platforms as well. I'm your host Kyle Thompson, joined by Paul Rutter,
Evening.
Jonathan Kennedy and Rob Spieral. We're a Lee Lawless show tonight. So in tonight's 5-part show we'll be talking about, obviously, the elephant in the room. We're hammering at Carroll Road. We'll be speaking in depth about that, about every player's performance, the review, everything like that. We'll also be talking about Lee Charnley's war words on Rafa Benitez and the training ground, whether you believe them or not. In part 5, comparisons to the first 10 games of the previous season to the 10 games that we've got in front of us this season. So lads, welcome. I hope you've had a good Sunday. People listening, people watching, I hope you've had a good Sunday as well. But we need to talk about Saturday, don't we? That's the extreme. I mean, where do we begin? I mean, we've got a long time to talk through it all, but how very depressing was yesterday?
Yeah, all the gear, but no idea. It was absolutely tragic. Steve Bruce sitting there on the sidelines, looking as if he was waiting for a bus, chewing on a Werther's original. We had an abject performance. I thought the player ratings were particularly high. I'd have scored them a lot lower than that. There was no effort, no desire, no hunger from anybody in a Newcastle United shirt. And the man who's laughing all the way to the bank, Mike Ashley, because it's taken the deflection away from him. And all the aggro should be deflected at him, but obviously it's not. It's been put on Steve Bruce and the players.
Well, later on in the show we'll be going on about through the players anyway, so we'll be able to criticise the players to extent, Paul. So what I'm going to start with how we set up against Norwich and how we felt going into this game, because looking at the preview and looking at speaking to the lads in the chat that we have on Newcastle Fans TV, there was a lot of confidence going into this game. There was confidence that we might be able to go into this, at least a point was expected, because Norwich were just coming into the league. We know from Rafa being in charge of Newcastle United in the past, the second game of the season since we've been promoted, the first season was Huddersfield, the second season was Cardiff, and this season it's Norwich. We're used to playing a newly promoted side away from home early on in the season. In the tough games, whenever one under Benitez, so there are tough games, but there was an expectancy of at least a point. Did you have the same feeling going into it?
Well, I know Carroll Road is not been a nice place to go to for us. We haven't won there since January 1994. Not since I was born. And but I was expecting just at least some way of just going into the game, going in to win the game, just with that mentality. And I would say, in usual circumstances, you'd say no disrespect to Norwich before I say what I'm about to say, but I'm not going to say that. It's Norwich, and I do mean that with disrespect. It's this sort of team that we should be winning against, and considering the decent pre-season that we had games-wise, not off the pitch, I'm not referring to off the pitch things, but games-wise, it was a pretty decent pre-season. 1-0 defeat against Arsenal last week is no mean feat, and so to be absolutely embarrassed and humiliated yesterday, that's just a big kick out the blue.
It's not good enough at the end of the day, Rob. You can accept defeat if you've tried your best, and that is what we always say. We demand a team that tries. You cannot tell me one of them players yesterday was trying 100%. I think Joe Linton feigned injury to come off. I think the players were clueless. They were too disjointed. They looked as if they've never played together. They've done no tactical work whatsoever. The game passed them by, and they were up against a Norwich team who was fighting and scrapping from the stands down to the pitch for every little thing. You couldn't tell the difference between Joe Linton at one end. You couldn't have told me who was the 40-odd million pound player, and a lad who was rescued from the Finnish Reserve League or something like that. It was an absolute joke. They've spent literally peanuts compared to us.
1.5 million.
1.5 million, is that it?
Yeah.
It's absolutely so frustrating, and then you see teams around us like Sheffield United winning, and it makes it feel even worse. But the players were clueless. They were literally passionless. And I said before, Steve Bruce stood on the side of the pitch, hands in his pockets. It looked as if he was just waiting for a bus. He wasn't trying anything. And then when he does make changes, it's like for like. People saying, "Oh, he's a Geordie. You've got to give him time. This, that, and the other." I said to you before we went on air, Kyle. Cheryl Cole's a Geordie. Jimmy Nail's a Geordie, and I still wouldn't give either of them to the Newcastle manager's job. To me, the thing that will happen is we'll probably lose against Spurs, and then we'll lose a couple more.
No,
the pressure's going to come on then.
Man.
Chris Hughton's available. I'll leave it as that, because I tell you what, I'd bring him in any day of the week. You can say he's a Geordie and this, that, and the other. It makes no difference to me. What I want is somebody qualified. You know, if I'm having an operation and I'm in a hospital, I don't want a random Geordie off the street. I want somebody who's qualified to do the job, and not a dinosaur, a donkey, or anything like that. And I'm trying to keep it as clean as possible, but I was so annoyed yesterday. I don't mind. Well, I do mind losing, but if you can lose in the correct way,
there's a way to lose, isn't there?
And that isn't it. It's pathetic and spineless.
Yesterday just wasn't it. I thought, to a man, I just thought we looked, as you said, disjointed. Paul. I mean, there was times in the first half the ball was hoofed up to Joelinton, and I think he's got a lot of unwarranted stick. But like honestly, what was he meant to do? Take the ball down, run 30 yards, and stick it in the top corner? Like,
yeah,
it was like that was the game plan.
So why not change it, Kyle? Why not change it?
He didn't change it, did he? Like he just kept it the same for 90 minutes, and that was really disappointing. But we have been used to it, because Rafa's done it for years, where he's stuck in his ways and kind of.
But he's found something that's worked.
But the one thing I'll say about Rafa is Rafa had a game plan from the start, and he stuck with his game plan. Steve Bruce, I don't want to knock him too much, but he didn't have a game plan yesterday in the slightest. It just looked like. It looked like what he said in his press conference. We're hoping to nick a point. Like, I'm sorry, but the money that we've spent in comparison to Norwich, the likes of Almiron, Joelinton, in attacking Norwich, we should terrify the life out of them.
Grant Hanley.
They've got Grant Hanley at the back. We offloaded him because he couldn't get in front of Kieran Clark. Do you know what I mean? So, and Tim Crowe offloaded him because we had Darlow and Elliott at the time, and he had his injuries, and Rafa offloaded him straight away. Like, these are, like, no disrespect to Tim Crowe, he was a fantastic servant for Newcastle, but the previous manager branded these rejects and got rid of them, and they played really well yesterday. And what's worse, they looked more talented than the opposite number in our team.
The thing is, it was worse, Carl, as well. I felt, you know, last season, even if we were losing, you felt, oh, we've got hope because we've got Rafa. Now you look at the touchline, and like I say, it looks as if he is queuing for the bus or his pension or something like that. He looks like a dinosaur in comparison, and you've taken away that hope. You had something to hold and put your hat on, and the players probably feel the same. They had, we've got Rafa, and it could get extra out of them, and I think it just seems to be draining the life force out of them. And players are saying, coming out, we're going to play more expansive stuff and stuff like that.
Yeah, the shackles are off.
The shackles are off. Well, if that's the shackles are off, get the shackles back on
lock them in
straight away and lock. Yeah, because last season we were known as a good, defensively sound, solid.
Oh, no. According to Gary Neville, we're fairly boring. I mean, is he entertained now? Watching him getting hammered at Norwich City.
Well, how did he do in Spain?
He did very well in Spain.
Exactly. What he knows.
He entertained me, that's for certain.
It's just, it is just absolutely ridiculous. To me, if there was any sort of intelligence at that football club, but we've got Lee Charnley, the man who's single-handedly appointed Steve McLaren and Steve Bruce, you'd go over somebody like Chris Hughton and you'd say, look, I've made a mistake here, because literally, if we're not careful, we'll just be left behind. It's not overreacting. I'm just calling it exactly as I see it. If we continue to play like that, so cluelessly, and it almost as if he's scared to use Rafa's tactics, because I'd have used the same tactics. I wouldn't have reinvented the wheel. But like you said, it is just such an absolute mess, from the pitch to the boardroom to the ownership to the league position. And it's only going to get worse with Spurs, because we're going to get literally destroyed, I reckon, next time.
If we play like that against Tottenham, it could be a really ugly performance. And Paul, me and you are going down with Lee and Johnny on next Sunday, and the next week's radio show will be hosted by Rob, John and Jonathan. They're looking to get a couple of others to come in and join them at this table next week. But from top to bottom, if we play like that next week, it could be 6, 7, 8. And honestly, Ipswich fans will be looking on, hoping that the record for the worst defeat in Premier League history will be broke next week. That's how bad it is. I'm not overreacting, honestly. No. If they play, like, usually they're up for it in these big games, and they played really well, bar Jetro Williams' mistake against Arsenal last week. But if they play like that, we are in for a rough afternoon.
But even then, I mean, I felt the game plan yesterday, if there was one, was to get the ball and to launch it. That isn't a game plan. That is Stoke ball from 15, 20 years ago. That is Joe Kinnear-esque.
Yeah.
That is absolutely not good enough in today's modern game. You look at some of the progressive clubs and even Chelsea getting in the likes of Lampard and trying to think outside the box in a difficult situation. We're in a difficult situation. Have we looked outside the box? No, we've got a Geordie. But what do you want me to do? Get a flag out and wave it because we've got a Geordie in? We're getting absolutely embarrassed week after week. I want somebody in there who's actually competent.
To be fair though, I'm sure the rest of the lads and people watching and listening will agree with this. I'm not really fussed with the type of football we play. I'm not one of these that's highly judged. I mean, you could bring in anybody if they play really boring football. I'm not fussed. If it gets the results, that's all that matters to me.
Did you live through the Sam Allardyce stuff?
I lived through the Sam Allardyce stuff, and yeah, as tedious as it was, it probably would have got results if given more time with Sam Allardyce. But that's over 10 years ago now, and you look at now and. Even if Steve Bruce plays the most boring football in world football, even worse than Tony Pulis, if it gets with 1-0 wins here, left, right and centre, then I'm quite happy with that. I really am.
I must admit, from what I heard yesterday, and I messaged you guys after I heard the interview of Steve Bruce, and I wasn't even convinced then, because it's like he's coming out and it's just with the most bland and meek, we'll try again next week, and it wasn't good enough, and again it just literally sounded like a Werther's original advert, and it wasn't anything inspiring to me. Like, we're going to get in, we're going to work on this, I'm going to absolutely drill them, we will correct this, we will do this, that we did well last season. There was none of that. It was just so bland. It was like flat lemonade, and I just thought, I don't want flat lemonade, I want something sparkly, I want something good, I want something to hold my hat onto. It's been such a bad summer.
Paul.
Well, it's been Aldi one. It's been such a bad summer. And what we needed was the football to sort of like distract us and pick us up from the bad summer, and it's just continued on. So it's all that resentment and stuff is just building.
I want to go at the start though. I want to go to what we're set up with for the Norwich game, and going into it, I had a bit of optimism, to be honest. I think we started with the following. We started with Dubravka in goal, we had a flat 5 at the back with Kraft, who was a debuting lad at right back, Shaw, Lascelles, Dummett, Ritchie at left wing back, Isaac Hayden, Shelby and Key in the middle. Longstaff was dropped, and Almiron was just behind Joelinton up front. Going into that you think that's enough to at least give Norwich a good game, but Norwich, fair play to them, they're just outplayed from 1 to 90. They're outfought with, they're outworked with, they're outclassed with, which is the most worrying part. It was just 1 to 90, really frustrating, and I'm going to start off with to be honest, going into half time, it could have been 4 or 5, mate. Honestly, Pookie had 2 good chances from the start. I remember picking the tackle, cutting inside, and then drilling it at the goalkeeper. Dubravka making a good save, and then Kraft having a decent chance where he put miles over the bar for us, and then at 0-0. By the way, the ball goes in. Kraft puts in a brilliant cross to Joelinton, and Joelinton heads the ball wide. I'm thinking, I got so frustrated. I'm thinking, lad, if we're paying that amount of money for you, £38 million, that's got to be buried. Because I'm not being funny. If that's Alan Shearer, even as old as he is now, in his 40s, best of British team, mate.
Josler would have scored that.
There
you go.
Nah.
I'm telling you, honestly, my gran could have scored it. It was that bad, honestly, Rob.
Well, yeah, I've seen it myself.
If you've got that price tag on your head, I'm sorry, but there's no excuse. The trouble is, Rob, they've brought him in, and then they haven't thought outside the box. They should have brought Rondon and him in, and then slowly introduced him, and he could have learnt his trade. Instead, all the pressure's on that one lad. And it's too much. You've chucked him in the deep end, and he's just not able to cope. I think he's a great player. He's got great potential, but at the moment we need a ready-made, somebody to go. Rondon would have been the perfect foil to have gradually brought this lad in, and it's just again typical Newcastle United.
What were you going to say there, Rob?
I'm not backing up Joelinton as such. I do think he should have scored that chance, but if you think about it, it's a difficult header. It's not exactly close range either.
I think,
I know it's easy to look, but with the use of hindsight, it's easy to look back on it and say, that goes in, and we've got the advantage immediately.
As far as we played, that chance fell away, and I think I know price tag is something that's thrown around a lot in football, but I think if you're paying that amount for a centre forward, 6, 7, 8, 9 yards out, getting a beautiful cross on a play for you, ball beautifully put in by Kraft, fair play to him. He needs to be putting that chance away. If that was Rondon last season, that was in the back of the net. If that was Joselu last season, it was in the back of the net. If it was me last season, it was in the back of the net.
I really wouldn't go that far about Joselu. Rondon would have probably scored. I'm not saying he would have definitely.
I don't know, Rob. I totally
I mean,
disagree.
I hope he can kick on and everything like that, Jordan, because he's a great talent and everything like that, and I hope he learns from the experience of yesterday. But I think he'll know himself. That
he's a young lad. He's on the opposite side of the world, and this is the point I was raising. He should have kept Rondon because he would have buried that, and then he picks up stuff from Rondon bit by bit, and you bring him in.
Andy Carroll would have put it away as well.
Yeah, but now, you know, with him potentially out, you're looking at Mutu. And I'm really worried that we're a Newcastle side who don't look capable of scoring goals.
It is concerning, especially going into the next couple of games that we've got. But I'm going to go on to that first goal. The corner comes in, headed out, and then Timo Pukki from just outside the box with an absolute thunderbolt into the left-hand corner of his right foot. I mean, fair play to him. What a fantastic goal. And it'll probably be on the highlights for goal of the month or match of the day come the end of the month. But looking at it from a defensive point of view, the ball goes out and you've got like 6 or 7 bodies within 5 yards of each other, and they don't push out.
Jogging about, Kyle.
And Dubravka's not doing much about that. It was a fantastic hit, but surely you give the worst possible chance, especially in your own box, where the ball, if the ball's being headed up, you need to push out as quickly as you can. And if it goes through bodies and goes into the back of the net, then you can see as a team have done enough.
To me, they looked as if they were on time of beach walking the dog. It wasn't. There was no sense of urgency. There was no person who was alert to the danger. You've got a player there who was prolific last season. You do not give him any space, and if you see that ball going towards him, you get it closed down.
I think it was a hint of complacency about the defence. To be honest, I think it's just felt. I think it's just the ball's just dropped and they've went. It's Timo Pukki. Let him hit it. What's he gonna? He's gonna put it out the ground, and he's put it in the back of the net, and he showed them up like. And Newcastle go 1-0 down at half time, and to be fair, I think we're really lucky to go in 1-0 down. We had the chance through Jones and we had the chance through Kraft, but all things considered, I thought, you know what, we've had a stink out of the first half, but if Bruce can get into them half time, tell them a few home truths, try and change the system a bit, try and like get something going. Maybe we can nick something.
You
like
would think
he
that,
said.
wouldn't you? Yeah.
There was still a bit of hope. Like if we can this thing, or we can pull it back and sit at this table on the Sunday and be like, we had a bad first half, but we pulled it back in the second, didn't we? But I mean, second half start wide. Hayden put it wide. But after Norwich weathered the small storm that was our attack,
like a teacup.
They just storming a teacup. They just romped around with the past, outclassed everything, all the above, and it didn't seem long to the second goal from Timo Pukki. Cantwell, I didn't know much about him before this game, but he seems a brilliant young talent. He runs towards the Newcastle defence unopposed. No one going towards him at all. Hayden kind of keep up with him. He's the only one trying to run back. And then Timo Pukki picks the ball. He runs off of Matt Ritchie, picks the ball, cuts inside, and just puts it across the goalkeeper and Matt Ritchie to make it 2-0. And Timo Pukki picks up that ball on the edge of the box, and there's no urgency again. It's that complacency from the defence again. It's all
you could see him all the time when he was sitting there and he was just looking for them little pockets of space, and he thought, "Yous aren't switched on." And literally, you could see it, the twinkle in his eyes.
He sensed it.
Yeah,
he sensed it straight away. Goes across the goalkeeper, 2-0, and Newcastle looked deflated. They looked beaten.
What do you think about the keeper on that one, Carl?
Dubravka, I think with it going through Richie's legs, I think he's seen it late. So to be fair, I don't think Dubravka's much at fault for that one. It's the third one where I think he does, to be fair. But going straight onto the third goal, I think it's around 10-12 minutes after the second. Again, Cantwell runs forward. Timo Pukki picks it up off Cantwell at the edge of the box. He runs around Lascelles like there's no tomorrow. Lascelles doesn't. I don't think Lascelles had enough pace to keep up with Pukki, and then Pukki puts it across to Dubravka to make it 3-0. And again, really piss poor defending. My apologies.
Apologise for
but it was really poor defending from Lascelles, and at the end of the day, it would deserve to be 3-0 down at that point. But moving on, before we go to the break, we actually get a bit of positivity, everyone. Longstaff picks up the ball at the edge of the box. He plays it into John Joe Shelby. Shelby cuts inside onto his right foot and smashes home. And yeah, 3-1. It's a mere consolation. I didn't celebrate the goal myself, but
no.
It was a consolation, I suppose, the first goal of the season for Newcastle fans to enjoy. I mean, Jonathan, poor lad, travelling all the way down to Norwich to see that, who's joined me in the studio. But yeah, that wrapped up the...
Well, it's as difficult a game as it was. I mean, you only get your 1,250th Premier League goal on one occasion, don't you? So, yeah.
Rob with a stat. I like a stat from
man,
Rob. That's a good way to end part one of the Black and White show. In the next part, we'll be reviewing all the players, going to like a in-depth player ratings, and then we've got to talk about Lee Charnley. I know it's not the greatest of subjects.
Great.
Reviewing the next couple of games as well, going through them. Can we pick up any points? But yeah, speak to you in a couple of minutes. everyone, and welcome to the Black and White Show live on Nova Radio Northeast 102.5 and live on all social media platforms as well. Hello. I'm your host, Kyle Thompson. I'm joined by Mr. Rutter, Jonathan, and I'm joined by Rob as well. And in tonight's show, we've already spoke about the unfortunate events of yesterday, the 3-1 defeat at Norwich. But we'll be going through each and every player to speak about how poor they were and everything like that. And later on the show, we'll be talking about Lee Charnley as well. Such a nice subject that is. And then the last part of the show we'll be comparing this season's fixtures with last season's. I don't think there's anything good for the show. But yeah, we've already spoke about the match, lads. We've already summed it up as best we can. Try to be as positive as we can, because I know there's a couple of people in the comments and a couple of people that listen want a bit of positivity when they listen to Newcastle and listen to Newcastle Fans TV, but to be fair, it's been hard to make that happen for you. So we'll get through to the individual player reviews of each player, and
we've got to be real, haven't we?
Paul has said at the start of the show that the player ratings on our channel yesterday was a bit
nosebleed territory. I felt
nosebleed territory. So we get a chance to redeem Lee and Jonathan's mistakes of yesterday.
Lee listening live at the moment.
Lee listening live. I hope you're listening, mate. So because we're going to be a bit more harsh than you were yesterday, but I'm going to start with, as we always should, with the goalkeeper. Lads, what do you think? Do you open the floor? Do you think he played well?
I think he could have done a lot better than what he did. Yeah, there was like the chances and stuff that Pookie had, but no chance on most of the goals now that I've looked back on them. But yeah, that's my thoughts. Like I feel like he didn't have any chances, like to get them, save them.
He wasn't protected, was he? Well, and marshalled by his defence. You would say that. I think
the defence for the first two goals was shocking.
Yeah,
it was a very, as I say, it's before the break, very high level of complacency. It's like, oh, just hit it, you're not going to score. And for me, the third one, I think the ball going across me maybe could have done a little bit better, but I'm not going to rip into one because he wasn't.
I mean, he got his hand on the other one, didn't he? And I'm sort of thinking a bit.
He made a couple of very strong saves, and I think he took the ball a couple of times in the box where other goalkeepers like Tim Krul in the past where he hasn't took that cross.
I will say though, I got some stick for choosing Tim Krul above my sentimental Paul. Sort of redeemed slightly because I think Tim Krul had a decent game. So I had a bit of a chuckle about that. That was one of the few things yesterday that made me chuckle, to be honest, after the performance. But I think Dubravka, like you said, the defence was nowhere. I thought Lascelles was okay, but apart from that, who was giving them the protection? Who was bursting the gut in order to keep that clean sheet?
I wouldn't put it on
not Dubravka.
If I was to give him a player rating yesterday, I'd probably give him a nosebleed territory. I'd give him a 7, to be fair. I know he conceded 3 goals and I know this and that.
I'd have said a 6 as well. I'd have been a little bit lower.
A 6 is probably a fair one.
Yeah.
But the new boy we're going to go on to next, Emil Croft, debut. I don't want to rip him too much, but he was poor yesterday. He was really poor. I think Max Aaron's really ripped into him. They really looked to go down that flank and they really give the new lad some problems. He had a brilliant cross into Joe Linton.
Yeah.
He had a shot which I know Lee's touched upon in a previous video when we first signed the lad. The heat map of him last season was more defensive. Showed more of his attacking qualities than defensive.
How many goals has he scored in his career? Is it about 3 or 4?
I think I remember from reading on doing my research. I think he scored 2 or 3 in his career.
2 and 3, and he looks like a player who's only scored a few. And,
I think the jury's still out on Emil Croft. I think it'd be unfair to rip into him and give a final verdict on a player, if you will. But I think there is potential there going forward, but I need to say a little bit more from defensively.
I was gobsmacked, and never thought I'd even say this, that Manquillo was dropped. I think at the end of the day, if you are performing to A level in the team, you have got that shirt until you make mistakes and then you lose it and somebody else comes in. I'm not Manquillo's biggest fan, not at all. He's up there with Joselu in some of my opinions, but he had an okay game against Arsenal. He played quite well. So to me, from a motivation point, again, I think Bruce has got that wrong. You would have kept him in and said to Kraft, you've got to be ready for when this lad steps up, then you get your chance. Not, we'll bring you in and again throw you in a deep end it was the wrong game to try it against Norwich. First home game.
I know he's getting a lot of airtime, but Lee will be laughing in his chair at his desk right now because we're talking about Manquillo, because I say the mere thought of him playing is Lee Lawler out. But Manquillo has played really well, and I say it with gritted teeth because we kind of know what we'll get with Manquillo, don't we? But I don't think he should have been dropped. I thought he was okay against Arsenal, but I think it's kind of echoed that he should be playing against Tottenham next week. But less about Kraft, one the next centre back.
Oh, you're not giving him a score?
I'll give Kraft a score. Then why not? I'm gonna give him a 5.
5. Oh dear. We're a bit apart in our valuations here because I'd have given him maybe a 2.
Ooh,
1 or 2 out of 10. I did not rate
in the middle, Paul. We'll go for 3 or 4.
I think that's the right thing to do.
Right,
maybe.
we've got up with I'll say 3. Why not? On to Fabian Shaw next.
Oh dear.
I mean,
it gets no better.
I mean, the elegant man, as he's known on this channel, he wasn't very elegant yesterday. I think words to sum him up yesterday was very. He had a very difficult game.
Head's gone.
Yeah, his head was gone.
What's happened to the lad? Did he get his head turned for a transfer in the summer, or he's having a bit of domestic issues, or does he not like Steve Bruce's perm, or what? I don't know. You tell me.
I mean, to be fair to him, I thought he tried to get the ball forward at every opportunity, like he always does. He always tries to inflict the passing game, but I think he had a frustration that we'll probably touch on later with the forwards. Whenever they got the ball, they had a bit of frustration. He had a frustration of trying to pick them out. But I think for the second goal, especially where Cantwell's running at him, and I just don't think he dealt with him very well at all. I don't think they dealt with the pace very well with Cantwell. Ran forward, he caused a lot of problems, and I don't think Shaw dealt with that particularly.
I think he was one of our worst defenders. I really do. I think him and Dummett yesterday were having a competition for who could play the worst. I think Lascelles was all right up to a certain thing, but
see, I'm the other way around. I think Dummett was the best defender, and I thought Lascelles.
I thought they were all bad, but I mean
it's hard to pick out the best in what was a 3-1 defeat at Corrie.
See, I give Lascelles a 5 yesterday on player ratings because he was actually tracking back quite a lot.
And naturally, he's a defender, so he needs.
No, he was tracking back quite a lot, and he handled Pookie quite well as well on certain occasions. Obviously when the goals and stuff, it was a different
when you've conceded a hat-trick, I mean the defence, to me, if somebody has conceded a hat-trick against you, your defence ain't getting above 4 or 5.
Before we touch on Jamal Lascelles, so the captain and everything, we need to mark Shaw out of 10.
What are you giving him?
I'm giving him a 4.
I did 4 myself.
Yeah, 4. Wall agreement on Fabian Shaw? 4?
Yeah.
Fair enough. On to Lascelles, who's already been mentioned. You give him a 5 yesterday, Jonathan, in the ratings. I thought he was the worst defender yesterday. I thought he was even worse than Kraft. I thought Timo Pukki, as much as Jonathan's defended him there and says he dealt with him at times, I just think when it mattered to deal with him, he just didn't. The third goal summed it up for me, where he just ran around him and then put it the other side of him. It wasn't very good by Jamal. And to be fair, the character of the lad, the captain and everything, he's more than capable of bouncing back from this. And I think he will do so, but
I think we needed a Southampton moment, didn't we?
Yeah.
Yesterday, Southampton away, and to me, the thing that was alarming, I didn't see the leadership that we come to expect and that we need of the captain, certainly in times of crisis.
Yeah.
I didn't see enough of that. If I was in that defence, I'd have been literally telling a few players, a few warm troops, come on lads, pull your socks up. We want 100% commitment. You can forgive everything else if there's that 100% commitment.
I think we will get that with Lascelles.
Yeah, I think you will see a response.
If there is a problem, we will look to put players in the place. But I'll give Lascelles a 4 again. On to the next one, Mr. Dependable, as I call him on this channel, Paul Dummett. I think he was the best centre back yesterday, but then again, I don't think that was hard because the other defenders in the team got torn to shreds.
He's normally, and I say this umpteen times, he's normally and always a 7 out of 10 sort of player. You'll always get a certain level of performance from him, but yesterday to me was well below it, and again he was just all over. But I think the defence as a unit looked as if they hadn't got a clue, as if they were playing with ice skates on.
Well, we used to play very, very compact as a defence. That's what Rafi used to always say, compact, but it was anything but yesterday.
And again, I thought it was pretty bad.
I just want to run through Dummett as quick as possible because even though he was the best defender, I didn't think he was that good. I think 5.
Yeah.
I mean, for a 7 out of 10 every week, he's a 5. So he's a lot. He can have an off game now and then, but I think he'd be back on it with the character of the lad. On to characters, so Matt Ritchie, I thought it was one of his worst performances in the Newcastle shirt yesterday. The work ethic from Ritchie is always there, and I always commend him for being a part of a core of a squad that gives everything that they've got. But yesterday, it was his crossing that really drove me insane. Yesterday,
I think everything about
it
his
was
performance.
either the first man he couldn't beat, or it was going straight into Tim Krul's arms, and it was really disappointing because Matt Ritchie can usually whip in a ball really well.
That was one of the things about yesterday, wasn't it? That we constantly seemed to be hitting the first man all of the time.
Puff and puff, but no houses blown down.
Reminded me of Danny Guthrie's crossing or set piece ability.
God, I remember him from corners a couple of back in the day. First man Guthrie, we used to call him.
First man,
in the Spring Gardens back in North Shields.
I think he's flown. There's pictures of him on social media flying back down to see your family and stuff. And he did not look at the races yesterday. And
but it's very rare for Ritchie.
It is because he's normally. He does care. He does care. You will say that.
If we get further down the season, we're in a relegation scrap, which is the most likely thing at the moment, considering the feeling around the club and everything. If we're in that battle, we're in that dogfight, you need Desert Ritchie in the squad who's going to give everything. He's going to try and unite the team and everything like that. That's what you need. But an off day for Ritchie, if I'm going to score him, probably give him a 3.
Yeah, a 3 or a 4, I was thinking.
A 3 if he will bounce back. I have every faith he will. On to the midfield now, Isaac Hayden. A frustrating day for Isaac Hayden because he tried to make things happen. I recall in the first half he had 3 Norwich players around him. He took the ball past all of them and got the ball to the flank, and he had no one around him. Every time he had the ball, he had no one around him, and I think that was a tactical fault. I think Hayden fits best in Bruce's system because obviously he's played in it at Hull City in the Championship, but I think for me it was a really frustrating day for him, and I can't give him any more than a 5. But it's not due to him though, that I think the effort was there. He got a bit ran ragged by, I think it's Stieperman in the midfield. I thought he played very well yesterday, and Vucinic I think it is. But a very tough afternoon for him.
Yeah, it was probably one of his worst performances since he's come back into the team as a regular. But to be fair, he set such a high bar recently. Yeah, it was slightly below, but I think a lot of that is factored into everybody else around him was having such a bad game, so it drains the life force.
I don't think he could have done much given.
He was the best of the midfielders.
Yeah, that's for
I know Shelby scored a good goal, and I know you're going to get on to somebody else shortly, which I'm interested to hear your opinions on. But Hayden, again, always trying.
Yeah,
always trying.
I'll give Hayden a 6 actually.
Yeah.
I think that's a fair one.
That's fair.
On to John Joe Shelby next, and I know he scored the goal, the consolation goal in 90 minutes or whatever, but for me I don't think he offered much again. I think Stieperman and Vucinic played that well in the midfield. Creatively just didn't offer anything.
I've got real concerns about John Joe at the moment, and it's not so much at him. I said beforehand we need more out of him and we need more goals. To do that, as he showed in this game, he needs to be further up the pitch. He's not a more Diarmid sort of player who's going to break up play and put tackles in, put his body on the line, and that's what you need in that deeper role. We haven't replaced Mo Diarmid, and it's a glaring problem in the middle of the park as far as I'm concerned, and it needs addressing, in some way. But Shelby is capable of scoring goals and stuff.
As he showed yesterday.
So why can't we find a system where we get him pushed further up as opposed to playing so deep when he doesn't like to tackle, when he jogs back rather than sprints back, when he doesn't want to get the tackles in.
He has shown he can do the defensive side. I remember a couple of years ago Steve McLaren's last game against Bournemouth where he did all the defensive work and everything like that. So personally I think it is in Shelby to do that, and I think there's every faith he can. I just think yesterday he was outworked by the 2 midfielders in yellow, but it was a hard afternoon. If I'm going to grade Shelby, I'd probably rank him up to 6 for the goal, but if he didn't score, I think it would be a 4.
Yeah,
personally.
Yeah, I think that's fair.
Yous in agreement, lads?
Despite the goal, but he just got outbossed, didn't he?
Yeah, he did. But I think it's on to the next one, which is a key. Goodness me. I think some things need to be said regarding this lad, because I think even in pre-season at Preston he looked massively off the pace.
He's an attacking midfielder, is he?
I
Really?
honestly didn't even see him on the ball yesterday. I'm being serious. I said this to Lee yesterday, and I was like, I honestly didn't even see him on the ball. I didn't even know he was on the pitch, to be honest.
Yeah.
And I was like,
yeah.
I was like, what's happening? Because I was looking in that, and I was like, right, so there's Key, but he hasn't been on the ball whatsoever, and I was well confused of how he didn't get on the ball. Because when he's on the ball, he's actually pretty.
He's great on the ball.
Yeah, so calm, isn't he? Normally,
very
exactly.
calm usually. But for me, I just think he was very devoid of confidence yesterday. He didn't look like he was involved. He was more. I was sat on my couch at home, and I felt more involved in the game than he was. He was shocking yesterday. And
it was abysmal. That performance was absolutely pathetic. Abysmal.
I just think he's been so off the pace. Even in pre-season, he looked very off the pace, and I think. It's a question mark. Do you actually even keep him in the lineup?
I was looking forward to seeing him play with John Joe.
For the way he played yesterday, I wouldn't just drop him. I would not even have him on the bench next week.
When you got Matty Longstaff,
I'd put Matty Longstaff on the bench next week because I think, oh God, I think me Mike's just nearly fallen for those in confusion. But I'd play Matty Longstaff ahead of him. I think he was that bad. I'd rather see what Matty can do because he's got something to prove. He's got the fire in his belly, whereas I just don't think he had it yesterday.
That performance yesterday, I'm sorry, by Key was unacceptable. He didn't offer anything at all going forward. Defensively, I was looking forward to seeing him and John Joe, who obviously played well at Swansea together. I wasn't impressed at all. I was absolutely seething and raging at his performance. For the money he's on and everything, and his experience, and where he's been in the world and stuff like that, playing for his national side as captain and stuff, not good enough. Shocking. Should have been pulled off. I'd have literally made the change after 20 minutes.
It should have been done in half time for me.
Yeah.
I thought he was that bad. But moving on from Key, we're gonna go on to Miguel Almiron, and I've seen fan channels in particular give this lad a bit of stick needing a goal. But I think judging off yesterday, I agree with those comments, by the way. But
he just wasn't getting into the right places, was he? Like he's supposed to be there to get in, but he just wasn't exploiting those little spaces needed to try and create chances. But he does create chances so many times, doesn't he?
This is Bruce all over. Last season, look at that, right? He looked a fantastic world beater for Newcastle, and it was because he had extra bodies up. Just like when Mudu was playing in that Mickey Mouse tournament over the summer, he looked better when he had more players around him.
Yeah.
When he had Rondon and Perez up front, Mickey looked a lot better because he had that extra support. Now you're leaving him so far isolated, and the midfield is so far away, and he's not the most biggest physically, but he's such a gifted player. I've seen him play in the Cup of America. I've looked back at some of the old footage over from the MLS. He can be fantastic.
He's very talented.
But the dinner lady who's running the club at the moment needs to get the best out of him.
Yeah.
He's not doing it.
With no disrespect to dinner ladies, of course.
Well, he does look like a dinner lady.
But I think Almiron works best when he's got support around him, for sure. I mean, literally, it was a case yesterday. The ball was getting hoofed up from the back line, and whoever took it down had a radius of about 30 yards. And I'll probably touch onto this later in the previews to Tottenham and things like that. But for Miguel Almiron to function, he needs players around him. He needs to be running beyond. He needs to
feel the love, have players and support around him.
Yeah.
And then I would try him in a free. Yesterday when it wasn't going right, what was wrong with trying Mutu with Almiron and then Joe Linton up top?
I mean, I don't. It's worthy of a debate, but would you stick him into the free in midfield because he might be able to bring the team forward a little bit? Whereas
bring the midfield further up.
I wouldn't stick him in the free. What I would do is I would drop one of the midfielders, right?
And play
that's what I've been saying.
That's what I
back into the Raptors formation.
For now, yeah, right. Obviously, with we don't know how long St. Maximum's out, but for Tottenham match, right?
I think he'll be back for
if he's back for Tottenham match, yeah, I would drop one of the midfield because we don't need three midfielders because in a way it's not really working because the way of thinking if you think about it, if we've got five at the back, yeah, you've got Richie and whoever's on the other side to come down the wing anyway to jump into that kind of defensive midfield roles anyway when we do need them. I feel like if we had St. Maximum on the pitch with Almiron and Joe Linton, we'll have more end product.
Of course.
The reason why we haven't had the end product is because we haven't got that other person up top.
If you're going to play hoofball as well, right, which is what Steve Bruce seems to like to play, get 3 quick guys up the top and then say to the rest of the team, get the ball and then look for them and then work it like that. But to me, it worked well last season with the 3 up tops.
Yeah.
Why try and reinvent the wheel? It's
top...
just Bruce trying to play a political game, and you're not Rafa. Yeah, he played a political game because he could. You can't.
No,
so you play to your strengths.
Bruce, as he's already said in press conferences, I think that he's very different to Rafa Benitez.
Oh, definitely.
I don't think he'll get as much slack from the fan base as what Rafa did either.
No, it's like comparing T-Rex and Barney the dinosaur.
But going on to, finishing up on Almiron, I thought, like I've said before, I think he needs support. I think he tried to make things happen yesterday, but the support was few and far between for him. I'd give him a 5 based on his individual performance. Last of the starting lineup was Joelinton. You've already ripped into him today. I think he went off injured.
I think you feigned it. I do.
I mean, that's an argument for another day. But his performance, I thought he had that chance that we've already spoke upon. But the injury is the thing, and he's had an X-ray, as you've reported on the Facebook page and things like that for Newcastle Fans TV. But if he is injured and he doesn't play versus Tottenham, Mutu's will only fit striker.
I'll be calling Sorensen back. I would.
I don't know why he went out on loan if that's the predicament that we're in.
Yeah.
So it is really worrying. I'm going to try and finish this up for the break as fast as I can. Going on to the subs, Sean Longstaff came on with about 20 minutes to go.
Look good.
He did look good. I think he handled Superman a lot better than the other midfielders did. He assisted Shelby's goal, he played him in. Why he got dropped? I mean, unless it's something to do with the injury. I
don't buy the excuse that
as you say, he's the blue chip prospect, and I think he needs to play as much as possible. Local lad, got to play, and I think if anything, next week it'll be a crime against football if he doesn't play versus Tottenham.
Yeah.
If I'm going to give Longstaff a rating, I'll give him a 6. Why not? The last of the substitutions was Mutu. I've put in my notes he was only on for 5 minutes, but I've looked back and he played actually 25. But he didn't.
That just goes to show you, doesn't it?
It sums it up, doesn't it? He didn't contribute much at all.
The same issue though. Same issue, Carl.
Same issue. No support.
No support, and you saw in that Asian whatever it was called tournament, when he is played away from other players, it does not work, and you think Bruce would have picked up on that, you know?
Yeah. And lastly, touching perfectly on to Steve Bruce, I thought yesterday, tactically inept it was. I just don't think there was a game plan. For most of the game, it just seemed hoofball, take it down, hope to run 30 yards and do something with the ball with the attacking players. The distance from the midfield to the strikers was criminal. It was 40 yards at times.
I said before, no, all the gear but no idea.
Exactly.
It was criminal.
Like Norwich were picking up the ball, they'd get past with strikers who were in their half, and then the midfield would be just in front of the back four.
Playing triangles and all that.
It's just like the reason Norwich had so much space yesterday is because the midfield allowed it to happen. With Bruce having it so defensive against Norwich, at least push the ball out. At least have a bit bottle. I've seen on Twitter, I've seen on social media yesterday. If you're gonna go down swinging. At least if you're gonna try and make something happen. You know, try and get the ball forward, try and play it on the ground and things like that. But for me, Bruce gets a 1 out of 10.
I'd give him 0.
I mean, I think the 1 is generous, fair. But that literally wraps up everything that we're going to talk about tonight with the Norwich game, and in the next part of the show, we'll be talking about Lee Charnley and what he's been saying on social media and in the programme notes as of late. And we should speak to you in a couple of minutes. Night show on Nova Radio Northeast 102.5 and also live on social media platforms, so YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, the whole shebang. We've already spoke about the catastrophe that was the Norwich. I'm going to move quickly on. We're now going to talk about Lee Charnley and what he's been saying in the media at Rafa Benitez and what Rafa's been saying.
But to spend on players, spend the Premier League money that comes in, and have decent facilities. Now you may say they're adequate, right? They might be adequate to his eyes, but is he an actual professional at anything? If Guardiola came in, I don't think he would describe our facilities and 1950s bungalow as adequate. Not at all.
Well, Rafa Benitez touched on it when he was actually at the club. He says, look, he always said the one thing he wanted to change was the training ground, make it more like modern, make it more us.
Well, less like a cul-de-sac.
To try and pull in better players. He was talking about the training ground, he spoke about loads, and when he left the club, he put in his blog notes when he first went to China, he says he was promised changes at the training ground, they painted the walls. So
you're going over to China and they've got like umpteen extra training pitches, they've got indoor facilities, they've got swimming pools. We are being outdone by these Chinese teams, by teams all over the place, even the likes of Bristol. There's some of the low league teams that are getting new training grounds built, and we're saying it's an either or situation. Well, I would say, where has the money gone for all these years? Because we haven't been spending it on transfers because we could literally break even. You look at over the Ashley regime and how much we've spent, we've got a net investment on transfers of about 3 million. So where has the money gone from the players that have been sold, and also the TV money? I do not buy that it's an either or situation. We should be able to quite adequately get both. Even Sunderland have made improvements.
I'm sure Sunderland have a swimming pool.
Exactly. So if they can do it in League One, then I'm sure that we can do it in the Premier League. Although, be it, we're not going to be a Premier League team if we keep up this sort of mentality. 19th richest, we need to be thinking outside of the box and not making excuses. Yeah, and just making these things happen. If you did one thing every couple of years, it would be something. But we've had 12 years and you've not spent a cracker. You've gone down to B&Q, you've got a slap of paint on the side of the stadium. That does not make up for anything in my eyes.
It's something you do with a shed, isn't it? Like you add a drip of paint, you might get a swimming pool to go on the outside and make the garden look a bit better. But this is a professional football club on about.
It's absolutely ridiculous. And when you look at some of the numbers that come out by the club, the fact that we're getting in say £2 million from Sports Direct, but then we've paid out double that to the Keith Bishop, for his PR work, and when we're so terrible at PR. And to be fair, if anybody had looked at Lee Charnley's statement, they'd have told him, just do what you normally do, Lee, and don't speak, because every time he opens his mouth, lies come out. It's a waste of paper. And I can only hope it's made out of recycled toilet paper that they're printed on, because it's absolutely it's a fabrication in my eyes.
But it's not the only subject that Lee Charnley's been going on about. I mean, the frustrating summer, we all lived it as Newcastle fans with the BCG group and everything like that. The frustration of waiting, the third-party statements, all in few far between. He's responded to this. He says, I appreciate it's been hard at times, and certainly during the early part of the break, a period of uncertainty for the supporters. We want to communicate clearly and proactively, but it's important we do it at the right time. Sometimes we must adopt a no-comment policy, and I can accept it can be and has been frustrating.
It's a joke that. I mean, sometimes it's all the time. It's just absolutely just farcical, and don't even pretend, Lee Charnley, that you get what a supporter goes through. You may be in any postcode area, and you may think that you know more than people who live out of maybe in a DL postcode area, but I'm telling you straight right now, I'd love to be on the fans forum, because I'd tell him straight to his face, you know nothing about what the supporters are feeling.
Well, he did mention the fans forum, that he's going to look to try and communicate with them a lot more. I mean, I cannot remember when the last fans forum was.
It was a year ago, wasn't it?
I think when Mark was with one on the channel, he meant it. I think it was a fans forum in the back end of the year, but I don't even think there's been a fans forum since then.
No, I think it was a year ago, and then we were supposed to have one, I think, round about the Wolves game, and he wormed his way out of that. And again, nothing's been mentioned.
Yeah.
So I said I would love to be on it. I would love the opportunity. If anybody from Newcastle is listening, I would love the opportunity to be part of that. because I would love to ask a few questions and then not just to sit back and take the first answers that have been given by these, we'll call them gentlemen who run the club.
In case anyone is unsure how often a fans forum is, it's quarterly, isn't it?
Supposed
it's
to be.
Yeah,
It's supposed to be.
There hasn't been one in nearly a year now, I don't think.
And even before that, was it another year?
It's back to the years of silence under the club and lack of communication. I mean, Charlie's touched on saying, he wants to speak at the end of every transfer window and everything like that, but it's at the point where I don't believe him. He could tell us it's Sunday, and I'd check on that to see if it's right.
Every time he's mouth moves, honestly, Carl, it just lies spew out of it. And what's the point of having these discussions at the end of a window? We need dialogue as things are going across. Nobody trusts him at all. Ashley makes promises. You can come and look at the books. Fan groups have asked for this access. You don't get this access. What you say and what they do is two separate, total different things. And I'm sorry, but I'm no apologist for this regime. I may have a ticket to go and see the match, but that still means I've got an opinion on it. And my opinion of Mr. Charnley is that he needs to find alternative employment, and we need somebody competent who can actually run the club on a day-to-day thing. I've said before that I would have him in charge of the photocopier room, never mind the entire football club. I think he's inept.
I completely agree. Jonathan, I'm going to come to you as we haven't heard your voice in a while, mate. What do you think of Lee Charnley as a whole? Of going through the quotes that I've went through before, you just got a round summary. Do you think he's lying? Do you think he's just trying to back for something? What do you think of Lee Charnley?
I think what he's doing is he's trying to protect him and like Ashley, because of what's happened in the past and stuff like that. And obviously he's trying to protect his reputation, which is did I say that right?
Yeah.
Reputation, even sorry.
That's why we don't let him talk much.
He's I know I kind of mess up every now and then, but yeah. Like he's trying to keep him in the right tracks, and he really.
Yeah,
like,
he's just trying to protect.
He's trying to protect the club and Ashley, really.
Yeah, he's the only one that does, to be fair. But it's not the end of Charnley. I mean, it's like a late bus. It's like the buses in the northeast. It's like they don't turn up for a while, and when they turn up, it's free at once. So we've got 3 quotes at once from Mr. Charnley. On Rafa Benitez, which I found quite bizarre. We strongly believe that we went beyond I'll start again. We strongly believe we went beyond what could reasonably be asked in order to keep him. But let's be clear, Rafa moved to China for the money. The offer he received was too tempting. I'm sorry, but fans know, we know, everybody knows. Rafa Benitez came here for the project. He came here because of the club.
If he went for the money, then he would have left a long time ago.
Exactly. China he got offered a way out when Newcastle got relegated to the
It's just a
Championship.
convenient excuse for Lee Charnley to spout out that he thinks fits his
agenda. If he was going to go, he would have went a long time ago. Believe me, Rafa had his fill with Newcastle United, and I think he had as much as he loved the city, he loved the fans, he loved the project, he loved what could be with Newcastle. I just think he got sick and tired of owners and people like Lee Charnley. And it's
just broken promises, isn't it? At the end of the day, I think he said, look, I've had my stomach filled, and it's the same that Keegan said, and it's the same that other managers have said. You can only stomach so much lies and broken promises and being messed around and not being listened to, not being respected. The man has won everything, and you're not going to take that sort of advice on, but you're going to listen to Steve Bruce. Well, like I said, it looks like he's waiting for the number 60 bus through to the town centre, or look around the metro centre. You need to give your head a shake. You need to give your head a wobble.
But Rafa, to be fair to him, because after those comments that came out from Lee Charnley, I was expecting a response from Benitez, but I didn't think he goes in depth as he has. It's a long quote, but bear with us on this one. People in Newcastle have been talking about my decision to move to China without knowing what's happened behind the scenes during my 3 years at St James's Park. I haven't wanted to say much about that. I've encouraged supporters to get behind Steve Bruce and his new team, but I've been made aware of what Lee Charnley, Newcastle's managing director, claimed in the club's match programme last weekend, and I think it's important I address that. When I joined Newcastle in 2016, I did it with all my heart. I could feel the history, I could see the potential of the club, and I wanted to be a part of the project and stay close to my family on Merseyside. I tried to do my best every day, even staying when we went down to the Championship and saying no to other offers, bigger offers than the one I recently accepted with Dilian Yifyang, if I got that right.
Good attempt there.
By the way, if I was only interested in moving for the money, as Charnley stated, I could have done it much earlier. Over my long career, and especially in my time in Newcastle, I've always shown commitment to my club, its city and its community, and I've done it with professionalism and honesty. I want to remember the good moments I spent in the North East, and there were many of them, and not to have denying things about my time there or about my departure. Newcastle's board had a year to sort my contract. When we met at the end of last season, they didn't make me an offer I could accept. They told me they didn't want to invest in the academy or the training ground. If they like, I can explain the reason why Ashley refused to do that. Their idea of a project was a policy of signing players under 24 years of age, and in my opinion, the budget available was not enough to compete for the top 10. After that meeting, I knew they would not come back with a serious offer, and when it arrived 19 days later, it was for the same salary and 3 years earlier with less control over signings. Charlie's comments in the programme, having agreed a deal for Joel in February, explains a lot that I could not understand at that time. After 3 years of unfulfilled promises, I didn't trust them. And to be fair, you can't blame anything that he said.
I think that is everything that the fans had at least suspected, isn't it? And so, the content of
He's
that quote from
he's
Rafa,
answered every question, and I completely agree.
I like the Ashley thing. If you want me to explain about what Ashley said, then I'll do that.
Rafa could
put the
meat on the bone if he wanted to, and he could explain. And he knows how loved he is up here. Every fan would take his side. There's not one would believe.
And which other football club though would have come out and said that about the previous manager in such a fashion? At the end of the day, there's only one person who's money obsessed and money greedy, and that's Mike Ashley and all of his minions that he employs. So don't try and tar that brush on the likes of Rafa Benitez and stuff. When you see what he did to unite this city, when you see what he did to support charities both at Liverpool and up here, work he did at the foundation,
food trust, everything.
He didn't have to do that, but he did, and that's not somebody who's money greedy. Has Mike Ashley been down the food bank? Has he done anything to unite the city? Has he done anything to support the Hillsborough victims? Has he done anything with the foundation, the charities? No. So there's one person I would believe, and there's one person I wouldn't literally touch with a barge pole.
What were you going to say there, Johnny?
The amount of stuff he's actually done for the city, in the community, and everywhere he's been, is totally way out of his job category.
Yeah.
Like the whole like stuff that he's done for like hospitals and like all that stuff is totally way out of like anything he's like meant to be doing. But the character he is the type of person he is.
The man he is.
The man he is. He does that.
Yeah.
And I think everything Rafa's saying about Ashley and that sort of like stuff that he said in the interview that he had is totally the honest truth. Like it is, because in a way the amount of stuff he's done, the reputation he's got, you can kind of take his word as the truth.
And why would he put his reputation on the line and everything like that Rafa's built up over so many years to build, to have a petty argument with Lee Charnley?
Exactly.
I mean, who is Lee Charnley to Rafa Benitez?
Exactly.
I mean, come on now. I mean...
And he's saying the exact same thing as Keegan said.
Yeah.
You know, the same accusations about being able to trust people, about people switching, things around behind the back, lack of money, lack of investment, lack of wanting to push the club forward, doesn't want us to be a top 10 club. It all rings true every single time.
Indeed it does. I mean, you've touched on with Keegan there, Paul. Keegan, Rafa Benitez, court of law have found this ownership to be liars. Why would you trust them at this point?
Yeah, Parliament, HMRC.
Anybody that would think to trust these people, there's something wrong with you if you want to trust these people, because Rafa Benitez was such a down-to-earth bloke. He had time for everyone. After every game, no matter the result, he'd take pictures with people. In press conferences, he always spoke about how great the fans were, how loved he was at the club. War flags, he helped promote them. He did so many good things for this team, and all he wanted to do was take it forward. And he got problems as soon as he said the word forward. He run into issues, and he knew with the money offered and lack of investment in the training ground, you kind of take it forward. Because when Rafa's in, he's all in. He wants a training ground. He wants youth development. He wants everything up to his standard, and his standard, unfortunately for Mike Ashley and Lee Charnley, is world class.
Yeah. And the trouble is, then you get Steve Bruce, who's come in and he just looks like a yes man apologist who will accept the current status quo. So that again doesn't help Steve Bruce in his current predicament.
No, it doesn't.
But the more Lee Charnley goes on, and digs a hole for himself. He's not helping. If he wants to talk and communicate, then do so in different ways. But don't go raking up stuff where you have zero chance of winning. There's no way people are going to believe Lee Charnley over Rafa Benitez in a month of Sundays.
It's not just Rafa Benitez, though. It's Kevin Keegan,
Yep.
Jones Gutierrez, Court. Law enforcement have said these are liars and misled the press, the fans, the everything. They've misled everyone to get their own way. But I think, to be honest, it's getting it to a point of wanting to rant about Lee Charnley and the regime.
It kind of feels like everyone has spoken out against the regime except the regime itself.
Well, the regime won't speak out about itself. It reminds
exactly.
It reminds us of like a dictatorship from like the 1800s or something, where they'll shut out all propaganda and they'll speak their own way, and most of the time it's lies to suit their own agenda. But before I wrap up on this part of the show, I want to talk about Elias Sorensen and Kellen Watts getting their loan moves away, because Elias Sorensen's went down to Cumbria, not far from you, Paul, in Carlisle.
What postcode is he got?
Outside of the Yanni postcode.
But
he doesn't get it now. Doesn't get it.
But he doesn't get it now. But yeah, I think it's a great move. He's went to a local team. League 2 football will play every week, and I think it's a great deal for both clubs.
Yeah, it's definitely a good move. Like I think Shola's got something to do with it as well.
Yeah, he does, being the loan manager.
Yeah, so I think with obviously him being in like a local team around the northeast area, he's going to get accustomed to how the community is around it. And
yeah,
they were
to be fair, he's already
for
got a brilliant Geordie accent, hasn't he? I like
Yeah.
Sorensen.
He's got a better one than me.
He does.
Like, seriously?
I'm just surprised. The thing is, though, with the injury situation, you've got to think that we are low on the ground.
Hopefully there's a recall option in there, just briefly, even if we run into some problems, because if Gale's injured, Carroll's injured, Mutu picks up an injury, Jolinton's injured, we're going to have a lot of problems next week.
Yeah.
But he's not the only one to go out on loan. Kellen Watts went to Stevenage, and Newcastle fans may remember the word Stevenage was a bit of horror, because third round of the FA Cup, I think it was 2011.
Shearer coming back of his injury.
It was atrocious.
And that in the 90s, yeah.
Getting beat at Stevenage, I think it was 3-2 on the day. Tiote got sent off.
It was 3-1.
3-1.
Tiote got sent off. It was in consolation right at the end.
Yeah, it was a bad day. But on to Stevenage and Kellen Watts. It's another good move, I think. Kellen Watts did okay in the Asian Cup. Look to kick on from that, and I think first team football is the best way kicking on from that.
Against playing up against men week in, week out, learning the tricks of the trade. Reserve team football will only do so much, and we've seen that our reserve team isn't doing fantastic at the moment. So get them out there, get them playing against men, and then get them back to Newcastle and see where we go from there. But two players who could have big futures at Newcastle, and Sorensen maybe thrust into the limelight sooner rather than later.
But before we wrap up this part of the show, how many goals do you think Sorensen's scoring in the Carlisle shirt this season?
Oh, that's a good question, that. I would say 10 to 15. I think he's capable.
I'm going to agree, 10 to 15.
I'm going to be very precise and say 18.
18 by Jonathan.
I like that.
And what do you think, Rob?
I reckon in the region of 10 to 15. Of course, that depends whether he would get recalled before the end of that contract.
That's fair enough. Well, that wraps up part 4, I believe, of this black and white show. And we'll speak to you in a couple of minutes. Back everyone to the Black and White Show on Nova Radio Northeast 102.5 and live on all social media platforms. So if you're watching on the stream, hello. I'm your host, I'm Kyle Thompson, and I'm joined by Mr. Rutter, Mr. Kennedy, who's coming into the screen right now.
Just sorting out the camera for the live chat.
I'm also joined by Rob, the
Hello.
stat man in the corner over there. But we've spoke about Lee Charnley, we've spoke about the match yesterday.
Still done the same.
We've still got another break to go after this one. In this part, we're going to be talking about the first 10 games of last season in comparison to the first 10 games this season and what we could maybe learn from them, as well as the preview for the game next Sunday against Tottenham Hotspur. So lads, I'm going to take the floor for a couple of minutes while I explain the 18-19 season, the first 10 games, and then the fixture list for the 19-20 season as well. We'll start the season, as many of you may remember from last season. We went the first 10 games only picking up 3 points, and that was against Southampton away, Crystal Palace away, and Cardiff away, all 0-0 draws. So with 10 games in last season, there was a heavy amount of concern and everything like that. We didn't pick up a win. I think it was Watford at Bournemouth. We'll pick up the first win.
Was it Watford? I think.
I think it was Watford. Yeah, I remember Key coming on and changing everything.
It was, bonfire night weekend.
Yeah, that's right. But what I wanted to argue is maybe the first 10 games isn't something to be judged on. I know Steve Bruce won't get as... I think if we're 10 games in and Steve Bruce hasn't picked up his first win, I think it'll be a lot more toxic from him. But going through the 18-19 season, the last full season under Rafa Benitez, we'll start the season in a 2-0 defeat at home to Spurs. That away day at Cardiff, I remember going with Lee and Mark. The Kennedy miss in the last minute. Jesus God.
Oh dear.
This time last year,
this time last year, exactly. And then it was a home defeat to Chelsea 2-1. I thought we were very unlucky that day, mind. Manchester City away 2-1 defeat again, and then another 2-1 defeat at home to Arsenal. We drew away at Palace at Selhurst Park. Home defeat to Leicester. Rob in particular remembers that one.
It took me a while to sort of process that.
And then the away defeat at Old Trafford, which was agonising.
Scandalous.
Yeah, scandalous. And then the home defeat at Brighton, and then we rounded that off with a 0-0 draw at St Mary's, all the way down on the south coast.
That was one of the worst games, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was a very depressing
apart from
game.
yesterday.
But going into, we'll start the season off on 2 defeats. I mean, we're 1 point behind where we were at this point last season after the second game of the season ended in a draw. But coming up, I mean, we're going to touch on it in the next part of the show, the last part of the show, which is Spurs. So I don't want to go into it too much, but what Spurs away next Sunday. I think it's live on Sky Sports at 4:30, so it'll be a late getting back home job for us when we'll go down next week. Do you, a quick prediction from you?
To be honest, with Tottenham being at home,
pretty stadium.
I'm gonna say we're gonna get absolutely beaten. I think it's gonna be like a 4-5 nil.
Yeah, 5-0.
5-0.
Wouldn't be surprised.
I'll say 4 just to be kind of like, you know, the
an optimist.
Guy.
Yeah.
I'm going to be really positive and say 3-0 Tottenham.
Right. that's a good result, to be fair. I'm gonna say the same, actually. 3-0 Tottenham.
And you just can't see a score.
Nice, lovely stadium. Hopefully a day I'll get behind the team. Hope for a miracle. It's a chance you take, as I've always been told.
I think we need to get our prayer mats out again and park our buses and everything else. As of last season, all needs to come out again. I think.
Yeah. Indeed.
Yeah.
Say that we did beat Manchester City, but that was with Rafa. But in a way, we've got that kind of like spark in the team. It could happen.
The thing is, right?
Steve Bruce took that spark out.
Like last season and the beginning to last season and this season, the difference is, we're both. It's not a fantastic start this season. It wasn't fantastic last season, but last season we had hope. You had something to put your hat on. This season we've got the Werber's original model of the year.
The Cabbage Patch Doll.
You know, at the end of the day, it's like comparing the T-Rex and Barney the dinosaur. They're both are dinosaurs, but obviously that's where it stops. But yeah, I always felt last season, even that difficult start, I had hope Rafa would turn it round.
Yeah.
I'm sitting there looking at Steve Bruce and I don't get that same feeling, and probably the players would feel the same, I would say.
I don't get the same feeling from Bruce, but we've got to get behind him. We've got to try and will something to happen. I know Bruce is Bruce, but we've just got to support.
No doubt, he wants to do the best for Newcastle. Yeah. No doubt about that. And there's not many Geordies who could say no to the Newcastle manager's job, even though it's Mike Ashley asking the question.
To be fair,
you know, and it, like I said at the beginning of the show, just because he's a Geordie and stuff, and Lee Chandler keeps saying, "I've given it to a Geordie."
Cheryl Cole.
If it's Cheryl Cole, if it's Jimmy Nail, if it's Sting, it doesn't matter. They're all Geordies, but I wouldn't give them the manager's job with the greatest of respect. And I think if things don't turn around in the next few games, Bruce is going to find it absolutely walking on hot coals. I really, really do, and especially when there's people like Chris Hughton about. Who I would have given the job to in a heartbeat. Yeah, straight away I'd have had him back.
I think Chris Hughton would be welcomed back in comparison to Bruce, who was kind of hounded out the door before he went through it, kind of thing.
Yeah.
But after Spurs away, we've got Watford at home. And
home match to watch.
A home match, St James's Park, and for the channel it'll be, well, apart from Johnny, it'll be the first time that we go into St James's Park for the season starter, our season starter, and anyway, but Watford haven't had a very good start of the season. They got beat at home to Brighton, and then they got beat again yesterday. So they've kind of had a topsy-turvy side start like we have had.
Could we use them like last season?
Maybe that could be the catapult for maybe a winner or something like that, because we do need it, to be fair. And I'll come on to you, Jonathan. Do you think our first win of the season could potentially come up against Watford?
Who we got after Watford?
Well, we'll touch on to that. I mean, I want to just focus on Watford because afterwards...
it's Troy Deeney up top, isn't it?
It would be Troy Deeney, yeah.
Yeah. I feel like we'll get a win, but obviously Troy Deeney will get a win.
Right. Okay. So Jonathan thinks we're going to get a win. Let us know in the comments. I mean, it's something I've neglected to mention all show. The comments. The comments. I mean, it's very toxic from what I've been heard. Some saying one thing, some saying another. But I haven't involved them at all in the show, and I'm very sorry for that.
With the position of the things that we have in the studio.
The screen last week was turned.
I've been unable to show you.
Yeah, the mic. Oh God.
No puns, please, Rob.
No puns, Rob. Otherwise, we're going to have to give you a one-way ticket to the bottom floor, and it's not going to be via the stairs
that
either.
Is true.
But Jonathan, you asked what the next game was. I'll tell you, it's Liverpool away.
Yeah.
And,
that's a nice easy one.
It's a lovely. I mean, we haven't won at Anfield since I think it's '91. We've got a really bad record at Anfield.
Yeah.
Even when we had good teams, we didn't win at Anfield. So
I lived through those 4 plays.
I don't.
I lived through all of that, and we still couldn't beat them. So
I don't hold much promise. Do you remember when Rafa first came and we were going to win it for 2-2 draw and Jack Colback scored? Long time
collector's item.
That game was Patrice Cissé's last goal for Newcastle.
Was it actually?
Really?
Yeah.
Stay tuned to the channel.
Stay tuned.
Cissé updates.
Yeah, indeed.
Hint.
But Liverpool away, I don't think any will fancy getting any points from that one.
No, if we think that Spurs is going to be 4 or 5, then I think that might be 9 or 10.
But the next one, looking at the calendar for Brighton at home, which is the next game after Liverpool, Brighton at home would be one of them games where you look at it and think, you know what, we might be able to pick up 3 points, but the start they've had, it's like maybe there's a couple of things to watch out for. They've just signed that Maupai from Brentford. He looks a nimble little striker, and he looks like he's got the tools to keep them in the division. So Brighton's a tough one. I mean, I think it is something we can still win despite everything. But
the thing is, if we were playing a brand of football or a formation or a style of football, you could say, yeah, there's a chance. If everything comes off, there's a chance. But we seem to be so clueless at the moment. You can't honestly, hand on heart, tell us where the next result is going to come from. It's just, we're that badly off at the moment. We haven't seen Bruce play a system. We've seen a formation, but there's been no style of play. There's been no nothing. Like Benitez was defensively solid away from home, play spoiler football until late in the second half, and then try to nick something off a corner, off a breakaway, off a set piece or something. Bruce, I can't honestly say hand on heart what he's trying to do. It just looks a bit of a mess.
There's just not that hope, is there, with Steve Bruce there
at
the moment. I feel like if we do get a win, it should be against Watford next week. But in a way, like, yes, it will build hope, but I don't think it will build hope, and everyone's to the point where like we're gonna win some more games against like decent opponents.
We should. There shouldn't even really be a debate, should it?
I know.
A club at Newcastle stands sitting there going, "Oh well,
it's laughable in a way.
We're not going to win against the likes of Norwich. We're not going to win against the likes of Watford and Brighton. These footballing superpowers. They're not like traditional warhorse.
I thought you nearly said something else there.
Yeah, I don't know. I've been very good, mate. Been very good.
I haven't,
but you know what? They're not a traditional powerhouse club. Yet we are absolutely petrified. To be fair, even if we were playing the Bristol Cities and stuff of this world at the moment, I'd be that scared with the man we've got in charge. We just do not seem to be playing to any sort of system or rhythm or anything that you can say, oh, I've seen that and potentially that gives us some hope. I don't see much hope at the moment.
There's just nothing, is there?
No, it's blank emptiness.
Nothing's clicked. Yes, you're just sort of waiting for that click
I'm
of inspiration.
I'm hoping by
just
Watford.
Taking longer than expected. Taking longer than it should do for that to come.
I'm hoping by Watford Brighton game time. By the time them games come along, hopefully, from what Rob's correctly mentioned, that something has clicked by then. But were you all in agreement? Do you think Brighton's a winnable game? Do you think we'll pick up a win
should be at home?
Definitely,
we're at home against Brighton.
Brighton,
not Barcelona. Brighton.
Over the course of the 2 seasons Brighton have been in the Premier League, they have one of the worst away out of all the teams that have stayed in the Premier League. Over the course of the past 2 years, Brighton have the worst away record.
It's a fantastic stat, Rob, but since they've came up with us in the Premier League, they've picked up 4 points at St James's Park.
You look at the training facilities and the infrastructure that they're trying to do. They've got a new stadium, small places.
It's a scary look ahead, isn't it? Really, like looking ahead, it's like in a way, I'm quite thinking that we're going to get relegated this season. Like I've got no hope.
Oh, don't say the R word.
There's still a lot of football to play, but I know what you mean. But if you just to say based on 2 games, I mean it's early in the season. You do have to give Bruce support. It wasn't my pick. It wouldn't have been my millionth pick, but he's the man in the hot seat, and you've got to when he crosses the line, as it were. We've got to give him that support when he's out there.
In the technical area.
But if you imagine if we get roasted next week, right, 4 or 5-0, right, outclassed. We only got 30% possession against Norwich. Imagine it's low, 10-20% possession.
Then 30 touches of the ball in the entire game next week.
Then we go into the Watford game, and again we lose that one. The place, because of all the political turmoil over the summer, which is self-inflicted totally, and how divided the fan base is, and how the fan base, let's face it, is so divided that one bunch of fans is attacking another bunch of fans, and there's really, really nasty stuff happening at the moment, which I deplore. It's going to be not a nice place if we get to that Watford game without a win.
I think Bruce needs to look at the next 2 games in particular. I think he will get a pass for Spurs away because it is hard. It is a hard game, and I think if we lose that, a lot of fans are expecting to get beat. But if we lose to Watford at home and then we've got Liverpool away next, I think it'll be a very toxic environment, and people like ourselves and everything like that will feel
that following game
for sure.
That following game, can you imagine if we have lost all of them and we've been heavily beaten by Liverpool and Tottenham? Imagine that Brighton game.
I feel
the slightest. The thing is, you know how the sport is sometimes. The slightest wayward pass, somebody hits the ball too further, somebody takes a bad touch. It'll be straight onto the players.
But after the Brighton game, we've got Leicester away, and I love Leicester away. I mean, it's a wonderful place.
Yeah.
But
the
difference maker on those 2 games has been the ones I've went to has been Jose Perez, and unless he scores an own goal, it's not going to happen this time. So
no.
I'm gonna wrap it up quickly for a break. But what do you think? Do you think we can get a result Leicester again?
Yeah. I mean, I think when you look at previous encounters, especially over the past 2 seasons, they're going to look at that and think, yeah, perhaps there really is something to this team.
I think if the ball's in our half, in a way, I feel like we will get a result against Leicester. It's
really?
I think we will, because with the if we got St. Maximum in Almiron and Joelinton up top, it changes it that way. I feel like we will get that win, and I think
we'll win at Leicester. Wow.
Honestly, I think we will, because Harry Maguire's gone. The big guns at the back, it ain't there anymore.
Or the big head.
Yeah, exactly. Like they're not there anymore, and I feel like the only thing they've got a good team, and they're attacking they're attacking, like now that Jose Perez is there, they've got Madison. I feel
it's just scoring goals.
I feel like there's going to be goals in that game, and I feel like if we have a decent front three, we might have an actual chance.
I don't see us literally scoring Addies at all at the moment. We've got to show something. Where is the evidence that these goals are going to come from? To me, I'm putting my hat a bit on ASM. Can he offer something different, maybe off the bench? But the defence has to wake up. The team has to look more organised. The midfield has to push up further and close that gap down. And we have to show a bit of heart and desire. I'm not seeing that at the moment.
So we meet in the middle of Jonathan and ourselves and say a draw at Leicester as a possibility.
Yeah,
I'd be over the moon with a draw at Leicester.
I'd be really happy with a draw. That would definitely be a positive result. We're certainly capable.
Okay. Well, the last 3 games in this list, I'm gonna just a quick fire prediction from me. It's not pretty. Man United at home.
Lose.
I'm gonna say a draw because my 2 best mates are Man United supporters. I'm gonna bear losing to them. Chelsea away. We'll never win at the Bridge, do we?
No, never lost.
That's a loss. Wolves at home.
Win, I think.
Win.
Possible draw.
Possible draw, yeah.
Very optimistic from Jonathan.
I'm just
very
optimistic.
We saw last season though.
We need them wins though.
They beat us at home, but they were not impressive, and we should have held on for a win down at Molineux.
That's what I was thinking.
You know, if it wasn't for their players thinking that the WWE wrestlers, we'd have got away with a win there.
That's the reason why I said win.
Fair enough.
Fair enough. Yeah.
In the next part, we'll round off what we've been talking about with that, and then we'll preview Tottenham, and then we'll close the show. So we'll speak to you.
I know times are difficult right now, but please don't stop believing.
Hello everyone, welcome back to the Black and White Show on Nova Radio Northeast 102.5 and live on all social media. Hello everyone watching on the stream. I'm your host Kyle Thompson. I'm joined by Paul, Jonathan and Rob.
Hello.
And in the final part we're just going to round up what we touched on the last part of the show, which was the next 8 games. How many points would you, 2 questions, how many points do you think we're going to get and how many points would you be happy with? I'll come to you first, Jonathan.
How many points can we get out of it?
Yes, so bear in mind we've got Spurs away, Watford at home, Liverpool away, Brighton at home, Leicester away, Man United at home, Chelsea away and Wolves at home. You've said a couple of wins in there, so I'm expecting the most optimistic to be yourself.
I'll probably say... to be honest, like I did say a couple of wins, so obviously that's 6, yeah.
I think you argued for 4 wins. So
do you know what it is? I'm gonna go normal, yeah. I'm gonna think not optimistic because that's what I'm always doing. I'm gonna say 4 points.
You think we'll have 4 points? What would you be happy with?
I would say 4 points.
You'd be happy with
You'd
4
be happy
points?
with 4 points.
Out of the games
Out
I've
of 8
seen.
games.
Out of 8 games.
Yeah, 8 games.
Oh right, sorry.
You can't get 4 points from 8 games.
No, sorry. I was all over there. I'll probably say 8, 9.
8 or 9 points. Well, considering at that point last season we had 3 points from 3 0-0 draws, I think 9 points will be an improvement. I think.
Yeah.
I'll come on to you, Paul. Same questions. What do you think will? What do you think we'll do, and what would you be happy with?
At the moment, based upon what the football I've seen in the first 2 games, I think we may have 1 or 2 points, being optimistic. Seriously, I can't see more than that. Where's the goals coming from? I keep coming back, I don't see. Unless ASM is a great goal scorer and I haven't seen it yet. At the moment, I'm not seeing it. So based upon what I've seen in the first 2 games, I would suggest, given the opposition, we may have a point or 2 at best. What would I expect out of them games? Out of them games, I think we should really be winning at least 3 or 4 of them.
Well, personally, before I touch on to Rob with this one, I think Newcastle should be pushing towards 10 or 12 points with the teams we're playing.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah.
There's more than 3 wins, and and against the big teams, maybe 1-2 points. Maybe if you can nick one.
Look at Man City last season. You know, that's the sort of the template that we should use.
Exactly, that is
our record is awful against these big teams, but we have shown, like against the Man Cities of the world in January, we're still the last team to beat them in the league. Yeah. So it is possible.
I think it's 1 in 12 last season. It could be Statman Paulie. 1 in 12 wins against the top 6 right. Last season, and obviously this season we've started off not fantastically. But yeah, like you said, we should be targeting at least 3 or 4 wins.
That, but in all honesty, considering we got 3 points last season, all the toxicity with everything around the club and everything, that I'd probably be happy with maybe 6, 7, 8 points at a grasp.
That would be decent, given the fact you're coming up to quarter of the season.
I think a couple of wins, as long as we're like above the bottom 3, because 3 points last season were 18th and a point cut adrift from teams in 17th and 16th at the time. So I think 7-8 points is what we should be going. Is what I'd be happy with.
The thing is, like last season, if we were in this position last season, we'd be sitting there thinking Spurs next week. We'd be like, oh, hopefully we might be able to get like a cheeky 1-0. And that is the difference between this season and last season.
I remember the preview. I stood outside St James Park with Johnny and said, we might get a draw. But Rob, what do you think?
And we're so close.
I'm thinking more or less an average of what you 3 guys have said. I'm thinking 8 points or so, there, like give or take 1.
You'd be happy with 8 points, so that's what you think?
No. I think that's what we can get, but I would be satisfied with 5.
Fair enough. Yeah. But we'll have a quick preview with Spurs before we wrap up. We've got 3-4 minutes left.
3
I'm
minutes.
starting to feel the effects off yesterday, to be honest.
Jonathan's tired off yesterday, but Spurs will know brand new stadium there. It's a hard away day for sure, especially with the traumatic events of yesterday. Thinking what better players could do to that team if it plays at the same standard. But we've already given predictions. We've all said 4 and 5, 3-0 the best. So it is going to be a hard game. Would you bring anybody? Would you bring anybody in? change anything?
I would. I'd go back to 3 up top, and I'd probably go ASM, Almiron, and Joe Linton if he's fit.
Yeah.
As a 3, I'd drop a midfielder.
Hayden and Longstaff in the midfield for me.
Yeah, Hayden and Longstaff would go into the middle of the park for me.
Even Longstaff and Shelby.
And I'd
good
be
work.
tempted, based upon Shah in training this week, I'd be tempted to maybe make a change at centre back as well. Drop Shah and bring in, one of the other two. Probably Fernandes.
I'll bring in Manquillo as well.
And Manquillo as well, yes.
For?
Sorry?
How long is Lejeune now for?
Lejeune he's not, I think he's back fit, but he's not match fit, so he's like having to go through.
Oh, right,
Same with Carroll, isn't
his
it?
first game will probably be the the Carabao Cup tie. So just to wrap up quickly, lads, how do you see Spurs going? Like, do you stand by your predictions?
Yeah, it could be a long game. I don't see the fact we've got no goals in the team at the moment based upon the opening 2 games.
Well, 1 goal.
Yeah, we got 1 goal, but I don't see the strike force really firing. So unless it goes in and it's a miracle defensive performance and we nick something, honestly, I can't say that I think or expect us to get anything from that game at all.
Yeah,
if we avoid an absolute hammering, I think we'll have done well.
Yeah, I definitely go with that. I think it's going to be a very hard game. I think the couple of changes out, mate, I'd get Kay out the squad as fast as possible.
Yeah.
And as touched on, bring Matty onto the bench. I'd bring Manquillo back in. Sorry.
I mean, you'd have a midfielder on the bench, a central midfielder. That's radical.
I know, but I'd probably go with Dubravka, Manquillo, Shaw, Lascelles, Dummett, Ritchie. In midfield, I'd have Hayden and Longstaff, and then the front 3, Maximin, Jolinton, and I went blank, Almiron. And to wrap the last minute through the week on Newcastle's Fans TV, we'll have the preview. We'll have the I think we'll have the 1 to 11 as well.
Yeah.
A combined 1 to 11 as well, which is fantastic. I mean, I don't know how
you
many
don't see that on other fan channels, do you?
Well, no, you don't.
Not at the moment.
But at the I don't see many Newcastle players getting into that combined 11, if I'm honest. But there's all that to look forward to this week, as well as we're going down to Tottenham with Johnny and Lee, so there'll be loads of things on Saturday as well.
And we're meeting up with our fan channel, aren't we, as well?
We're meeting up with Tottenham as well, Tottenham fan channels, as well as Expressions, hopefully. But that wraps up the Black and White show tonight. I've been your host, Kyle Thompson. I've been with Paul Rutter, Jonathan Kennedy and Rob Spieral. And we'll catch you in a bit. See you later.